people would be excited for a 20 episode run.
You know, and TNG, again, probably the best example of why you need a lot of time to tell not just a serialized story arc type of show, but just to show these characters doing their things on space, exploring the galaxy, and solving mysteries and problems.
Now, this all begs the question, though, who is to blame?
All right, Earthlings, and gather around and listen while we tell you a tale of woe, a tale of the death of a dear friend of ours, the death of the 22-episode series. You know of what we speak. Star Trek used to have 22 episodes. MASH used to have 22 episodes. Everything used to have 22, 25, maybe even sometimes 26 episodes, and yet today, here we sit, bereft of good, fun content, because somebody is too lazy to give me 22 episodes of Star Trek. God bless it.
Here we go again.
Ian, take it away. Why do we lament the loss of our 22 episode series?
We lament the loss of our 22 episode series because it is the only way to properly tell a show, a story. 8 episodes, everyone, is basically like 2 chapters in a book. You know, like, because if you want to break down, like, so the first episode is the introduction where you have to shoehorn in everything about, like, the main characters, the world.
A lot of characters oftentimes.
Yeah, a lot of characters, the world building. I mean, hell, the music, the set, the whole overarching tone of the theme. You have to establish everything in, like, episode 1. And then in episode 8, everything has to come to a head. You have to have
some kind
your
of
finale.
a conclusion. Yeah, exactly. Because we've become so accustomed to having a cliffhanger at the end of a series or whatever. Nothing gets wrapped up, and that started from a long time ago. That's just how we need to get people to come back, and that's especially important when there's only 8 episodes per series, because there's no time to get invested in these characters either.
No, yeah, absolutely not. You lose in 8 episodes. Like, you don't have time for non-plot related episodes. So, like,
side quest episodes.
Yeah, side quest or like character studies. You know, like for like the Star Trek nerds out there, you know, when Odo has to do something completely is not related to the Dominion, but is only related to him exploring his own humanity's the wrong word.
His changeling nature. He doesn't even know what it means to be a changeling, and he doesn't want to be human. He's one of the most interesting characters in that respect. Yeah, and there's other ones as well. All the Data episodes, all the holographic Doctor episodes. These are just examples of people exploring their sentience, their humanity, their lack of humanity, their very natures, but in ways that aren't actually tied to an overarching plot. And Voyager, you know, we have 22, 26 episodes. That means that some of these episodes get to just be about how these characters live on the ship, because lest we forget, 90% of their voyage is going to be fairly mundane sort of stuff. They're not going to have a crisis every single day. So we get to actually see what their lives are like and have interesting insights into the way they laugh and play and joke and cry and commiserate and deal with the situation that they're in. You don't get that when you have to distill it down to 8 one-hour episodes.
No.
It's not possible, and you miss it all.
Really?
Yeah, which leads into like the fun aspect of when you have 22 episodes. It's the whimsical nature of the episodes that allows you to have the most world building and the most fun with the characters, because it's not necessarily like, oh god, the ship is about to explode, everyone needs to come together and, you know, figure out this one problem. How is Janeway going to do this? How is Chakotay going to, you know, like navigate this aspect of it? It's more just like, ooh, no, let's put them on a paradise island and or on a paradise world, and then let's just see what happens without the knowledge that it's actually in a theme park, basically, and they're just getting killed by the creations that their minds are like having the machines make them, for TOS fans right now. You know, like there are those type of episodes, like that has nothing to do, well, I mean, okay, technically TOS has nothing to do with like
TOS doesn't really have an overarching series,
but TOS is a prime example of like fun episodes, world building episodes.
The Moriarty episodes,
yeah,
man, that is just let's just explore so much cool stuff. You got Data, his nature, and we've created a new life form in the hologram.
Yeah, absolutely. So like some fantasy, I mean, actually every single fantasy show that you can think of right now that's definitely come out pretty much in the last 20 years, minus Game of Thrones has 10 episodes per season, and
it kind of works okay. They actually manage, especially early, to get the broad strokes of the show, of the books into the show.
Yeah. So,
but other shows,
Rings
really
of Power,
Rings
of Power does not work. I mean, that doesn't work as like a whole story, but like you still doesn't give it enough time to like get invested in Galadriel and Elrond and Gil-galad. You don't really give a crap about Adar. You don't really care.
We never see an episode of them just having an adventure off the side to do something else that's like meaningful to them personally, but may not be 100% connected to the overarching "we are fighting Sauron" battle thing.
Yeah.
Wheel of Time.
That's the best one that we have.
Once again, it's come and gone, and we lament that fact, but it suffered hugely from an abbreviated schedule. We needed more time with these characters. Wheel of Time is so large with so many characters in so many places doing so many things, and everything matters. The things that happen in book 1 matter in book 14. These are things that we needed to be shown, and we need time with these characters. We needed to get invested with Rand and Nynaeve and Egwene, and we couldn't do that in that short amount of time frame. And forget about all the rewrites and the bullshit that they just decided to add that wasn't even in the books at all.
You shall not silence the voice of the Lord, but sit now and behold the wickedness and shame of the guilty laid bare before you all.
Avatar, the live-action remake, that also suffers from only 8 episodes. And whilst I will defend the live-action remake, it's actually probably the best remake I've ever seen in the modern era.
Especially live-action adaptation, which is very, very difficult to do, and they're usually trash.
Yeah, they're usually trash, but this one actually worked out. But only 8 episodes. You could see how they were condensing multiple storylines into whole episodes with like 2 or 3 storylines, and it just doesn't work. You don't get enough time to like you spend too much time in Omashu, but you don't spend enough time exploring the world in book 1.
The next season is going to have this problem. We can already tell it's all going to be in Ba Sing Se, which means you're going to lose a lot of world building, a lot of exploration, and a lot of the fun episodes of the kids just having shenanigans, which is it's a kid's show. Show us that kind of stuff too. It doesn't all have to be the serious points of every show. We're allowed to have a fun connection with our characters too, which we're missing again. And Strange New Worlds is almost like a paradox too, because Strange New Worlds wants to have the serious longer arcs, and it also wants to have the really short whimsical moments, and wants to have like the crazy stuff where we're going to have a musical episode, and we're going to have puppets,
a Trelane episode, and puppets, and
they want to have all that stuff, and it needed that time to do it, because I support having all those things in Star Trek totally, but give it 22 episodes so you actually have time to do all that stuff. Like, you're limiting yourself to, let's say you have the Gorn arc. You can only have one arc, basically a series.
Yeah.
How many 2 or 3 parters could you have in TOS or Voyager? A couple a season, which are really cool, which is even better for a producer. You're like, dude, I don't just get one cliffhanger a season. I get like 2 or 3 3-parters a season. They can tell the story. It's basically giving these writers an opportunity to make a movie inside of our show multiple times a season. It's a big challenge, but it's so cool, and it's amazing to be able to give them that breadth and also have a lighthearted episode next to it too. You don't get that with 8 episodes, just hammering that point home.
Yeah, like the one thing I will say about the 8 episode trope that people probably realize, but they may not realize or fully understand it, is that cliffhangers are supposed to be very carefully used. Like, Mark Twain did not invent the cliffhanger just because he wanted his main character literally hanging from the edge of a cliff by some tufts of grass. He didn't just start doing that every single time he could. He knew that it was one of those strategic moments when it was appropriate. 8 episodes, it's every fucking episode has a cliffhanger, and you don't need it, because if you have to draw me into the next episode by leaving something unresolved on the last episode every single time, to me, failure of storytelling, nothing else.
I'm sorry.
And it's also just trying to make sure that everyone's already hooked in. Yeah, it's overusing a storytelling device. And just like overusing anything, it gets, you get sort of blind to it. You get tired of it. You don't notice it as much. It doesn't matter as much. And so when you see it every single time. So, and it's so much nicer when it's spread out more and when it's more fulfilling. When you get a couple episodes that have an arc as opposed to one episode needs a cliffhanger every single time that can lead into one arc that maybe will be completed across this show. And of course, we only get 8 every 18 months, which means that there's this expectation that there's a big resolution at the end as well. Plus, there's a cliffhanger or something to hook you in and get you excited for next season as well.
Yeah, just as like a real quick aside before we go on to like some proper examples, the seasons don't need to have a finale to, like, the season needs to have a finale to the season, but these writers don't understand that they're writing a series. It's not one season, done. It's 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 seasons sometimes, with an overarching plot that should be in place but never is, because these people can only focus on season by season plot lines. Mostly, I mean, like, it's kind of the nature of the beast, because, you know, like, Hollywood is pretty gay about this shit. Even Rings of Power, that has 5 seasons guaranteed, fail to do anything close to that because they're still focused on the season arc rather than the series arc.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, a tie into that right now, like, just think about the old stuff. B5 specifically. Think about the mid-season finales we got in B5. If that were written
Severed
today,
Dreams.
that would have to be a finale because of the way that producers require things to come out in television. You would require Severed Dreams to be a season finale, which means that you're going to have to reorganize the entire structure of season 3 just to have the big moment. I mean, there's tons of big moments there, and there's a ton of quiet moments, too. There's the Gray 17 is missing, sprinkled amongst, you know, Severed Dreams and falling into Apotheoses and passing through Gethsemane and stuff like that. These side quest episodes in B5 that add so much richness to a story that is so much more than just a few characters in space battling out in a civil war. It's more than the sum of its individual main characters, and you don't get that unless you allow the show to breathe through a series of 20 episodes. I know it's tough to get people to buy into this these days, but
I don't actually think it is that tough. I think this is just like a lie we've been sold, and if you came out with a proper show with 20 episodes or 22 episodes, where the majority of them, I mean, like, are well written, let's not, like, talk about, like, you know, Star Trek jankiness, but like proper modern writing that actually works and tells, like, the whole, like, tells a good story and things like that, people would be excited for a 20 episode run. Because I mean, like,
especially if it was, let's say, 20 episodes, you get like 8 bangers, you know, 10 mediocre episodes and a few bad ones that are gonna be like, oh god, man, what Code of Honor kind of episodes, you know, you're like, ooh, that don't have a good rewatch potential. What?
Well,
but,
I mean,
but with that, all of that means that you get an entire series of modern TV, 8, that are bangers. And then you get 12 of good to mediocre, which means, you know, watchable, meets expectations, fun, quirky, maybe hit and miss, but good. And then you get a few you just gotta shake your head at, and you gotta, you know, hope that they learn from it and don't make the mistake again.
Yeah.
Star Trek, great example of this, you know, especially TNG. You know, and TNG, again, probably the best example of why you need a lot of time to tell not just a serialized story arc type of show, but just to show these characters doing their things on space, exploring the galaxy, and solving mysteries and problems.
Like, imagine the episode Inner Light in an 8 episode
which is
run.
The best TNG ever did, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it is probably our favorite episodes. We have a whole freaking video talking about it. We'll link it in the comments, and as you guys are listening to it right now, click on it if you want. That, like, it has nothing to do with the story. It is just a character study of Picard living a whole life isolated from the Enterprise. He forgets it. I mean, the people around him are like, you don't think about the Enterprise that often anymore, do you? Like, no, that part of my life is over. Like,
and he's a grandfather. I mean, he lives an entire lifetime, full rich lifetime in the span of 25 minutes of real time.
Yeah, and you couldn't have that in an 8 episode
because
run.
It's just not important enough.
You'd be
to
so
allow
pissed
it to be there
if it was there in 8 episodes. You'd be like, why are you telling me about this? This has nothing to do with whatever
Although
grand
I'd be
plot.
so absorbed by it because it's such a good story that I think it would still fly. But a producer would be like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, the producer would just be like, as soon as the writer came to it with the idea, they'd be like, out, go away.
And then, you know, honorable mention to every single sitcom ever that's ever been watched. I mean, Friends and Hogan's Heroes and MASH and ER
Big Bang Theory.
and The Big Bang Theory and New Girl. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. All of those shows had longer seasons because no one was going to be interested in these individual episodes about these characters. They're 25 minutes long. You only got 8 of them a season. No one freaking tune into that.
Nope, absolutely not. Now, this all begs the question, though, who is to blame for this?
Who can we point the finger at or to?
Be very, very quiet.
And I will squarely throw my dart at Netflix, because
Fucking Netflix.
The original, I mean, like Netflix, like House of Cards, Hemlock Grove, and Orange is the New Black, the 3 debut shows that Netflix put online streaming first. They broke the fourth wall in this respect.
Because we took from, at the very least, they started from 20 down to 13, and then 13 down to 8.
Yeah.
This entire
and everyone's followed suit.
And now Netflix is also to blame for the basic enshittification of a lot of television as well, which is a whole separate thing, but it's the ability to be able to scroll your TikTok feed and watch a television show at the same time. That is a Netflix special, trademark, copyrighted stamp of approval right there from them.
They took the wrong lessons from the original Scooby-Doo.
Seriously.
And with that, guys, let us know if you think 8 episodes is enough, or if it isn't enough, if also Netflix is to blame.
And if you don't agree with us, you maybe need to put your phone down while you're watching TV more so you understand what we're talking about and what's wrong with it.
Absolutely. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next video.